Hi Adelina. I spoke to Toby again yesterday, anyway, the only point I mentioned because of that is he did say it sounds like a possibility that Te To ADL can, look at helping me, but they have some criteria, and I think he indicated that you were going to pass on their questions about my eligibility, but I did say to Toby that I wanted to send through some of the information that I think they would want ahead of time, just because I'm, getting pretty close to, deadline, and I don't want to ramble, but the thing is that I'm really, really tired, and it's just easier for me to just sort of talk to my phone at the moment, because writing things up is really difficult, and you can see the difficulty I have even trying to get help, let alone helping myself, because this is the kind of state that I get reduced to. So I'm really, really, really tired. I don't really know who to address this to. I guess, I'll just say, so yes, I have multiple health conditions. Now, one of them is as good as chronic fatigue syndrome. If it's not chronic fatigue syndrome, it's got identical symptoms. I've had half a workup, not the other half, and that was started from the general medicine in Wellington, and I kind of there's quite a lot to do transitioning DHBs. So, but I've been through so many tests, and they're just the doctors that I talk to just take it as read that it's chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's probably because like everything changed after I had kidney transplant in 2016 when I was 38. And that's quite a common way that chronic fatigue syndrome begins, after some major surgery, which is a real shock to the body, or some other sort of injury to the body. Surgery is like an injury, even though it's a safe injury. Yeah, so really buggered. And a lot of the other symptoms, it's like a whole big complex symptoms, but it's like, weakness, fatigue, headaches, aches and pains, shortness of breath, tachycardia. I've had so many different diagnoses or different investigations, and it looks like it's all part of that same thing. And it's, it's not a very nice thing to have, because for me, energy is happiness and it's everything. And I am a cheerful person anyway, but I do get quite down when I'm really tired. And I just sort of start losing hope. Unfortunately, it's a kind of almost like a meta disability in a way, because it just prevents me from explaining what I need. But as far as the criteria for TAT goes, so I have been largely unemployed for several years, and I was on the equivalent of the sickness benefit, and I'm now, as of probably since the past sort of several weeks, I've been on the supported living payments, which are the equivalent of the invalid's benefit. So I get a bit more money. I think I get $520, something like that. It changes from time to time. And my rent is $340, and I would get more from the supported living benefit, but I'm paying back $33 a week, and I borrowed quite a lot of money from WINS for a number of reasons. I won't go into all those details because I could just go off rambling. I'm also paying back $30 a week to my previous landlord in Wellington. Now, so I've been through this nightmare before, and for I really need people to understand that I'm a very strong person, and I'm a real fighter, and I'm resilient, and I've got a good attitude. But this is the second time it's happened to me. And the last landlord was just a really nasty slumlord, and it was a really falling down building, like quite illegal, and he retaliated against me, like really, really strong retaliation, which I now know is mob bullying. And I couldn't fend for myself in the tenancy tribunal, and he kept my bond, and he claims that he had made against me for other financial reasons were accepted. I mean, I had a heart rate of 145. I was having a panic attack. I couldn't defend myself, and the tenancy tribunal just wouldn't make any sense. The tenancy tribunal doesn't understand these things, and for people who say now, can you get a medical certificate? It's like I've already got letters from people. That time I'd actually recently had surgery. Quite suddenly, I'd gone into ED, and they took me in, and they scheduled me for surgery in the morning. It was quite I had an abscessed infection because I'm immunocompromised, and it just got out of hand, and I hadn't had very consistent medical care. And I was under general anaesthetic, and I was it's quite debilitating, general anaesthetic, and I just wasn't, on top of the trauma and the stress. I was also sort of quite groggy for quite a long time, and tenancy tribunal didn't care, they wouldn't adjourn. I had a letter from the social worker from the renal department saying that I couldn't attend, they just didn't care, and my landlord at the time was claiming that I was harassing him. It was just so ridiculous. You just have to look at the power imbalance to see that that's just not the case. The person who's being harassed is not the person who can't escape. And so she sympathised with him, and when I told her my heart rate was 145, she just laughed at me. And I just need people to realise that I've been through this before, and anyone not experienced the tenancy tribunal, the whole thing, people just keep telling me telling me things about it that isn't true. I know what it's like, and I'm going through quite a similar thing with it at the moment. And I'm not getting proper notices of hearing, and it's just really confusing, and I have so much to do, and I'm so tired, and I've had a lot on lately because I've had a lot of tradespeople over, so the landlord side are finally coming through and doing things, which they've been refusing to do all along. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail. It was partly my fault for giving a deadline that just was not a good deadline for my energy levels when I've got the hearing coming up. But I think it's also a new term I've learned is malicious compliance. I think that they know very, very well of my health problems, because I keep telling them, you can't do this, you can't keep doing this to me, I can't cope. So I think there's a bit of malicious compliance. I've had a lot of tradespeople at once, and I've had to move furniture around a lot, and I don't have a big place. And I'm really just exhausted. I'm so exhausted. And I've got so much preparation to do. And I can't lose my home. I can't do this again. Something that people need to understand, and they don't, people who aren't renters don't seem to understand, but I didn't get a reference from the last landlord. I've always got good references. I'm a really good tenant, and I've got relevant work skills too, because I've done cleaning, and I worked for a building manager, and like you know, like so I haven't done anything. I have done nothing wrong, and so yeah, I've always had good references, but those are now outdated, and I don't need anyone to ask me any questions. Have you considered? Yes, I've considered everything, and I had to scrape the barrel to even get this place, and without two references in a row, like, it's not that I can't scrape together another reference. It's not that that's not possible in some sort of way, like with a character reference or something like that. It's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. But what people need to understand is that it's not just you get past the post and then you get a home. It's that you're competing with other people, and they're not going to choose me. And I can't move again. I have no money. I am in a debt to Wins, and I also took out a lot of money from my KiwiSaver. All in all, with temporary accommodation and all sorts of stuff, all in all, coming to Christchurch and all things considered, is about $20,000. It sounds like a lot, but it's not really. You know, like, I had to stay in some Airbnbs, and I had to buy temporary furniture and all kinds of stuff, and like, I'm tapped out. I can't. So if I don't get my bond back, like, you know, I'm just screwed. I'm just screwed. I have to keep my home. As far as getting legal help goes, I have asked absolutely everyone. ADL is the only one that's come through for me. I've had multiple experiences with the general community law. I don't want to go. There's no need to, I mean, I can answer questions about that if I need to. But trust me, I've been there. That is just not an option for me. Partly because the person, the solicitor that was advising the intern, and it's not an intern situation, that was misadvising the intern about landlord's right of access, and I know what that is, and the law centre didn't understand. They just thought that the landlord had right to come in, and I couldn't say who. Anyway, as I say, there's no point in going into it. I've you know, it's the question everybody asks me. I've been asked the question several hundred times, and you know, if I have to talk about it, I will, but just trust me. And I've tried so many other law firms. I've asked, you know, I've gone to a few law firms that do community law, but legal aid. But again, trust me, I've been through that process. I've even asked a lot of paid law firms if they can help me, and then I thought if they did, then I would just try to get money somehow, but I can't even get, you know, a regular law firm to come and step in to help me, because they're like, this is really complicated, it's not our area. But it's like, I'm just really desperate to take these bullies off my back. I just need some support. I don't have really anybody. I got to my limits of coping twice, because what happens when you have to keep going but you can't, that is an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. And what happened in both of those cases is I tried to take my own life. It's not a mental health disorder. I was taken to I was held under the Mental Health Act. I was taken to Hillmorton Hospital. I was assessed. I was there for quite a while. No mental illness was found. They initially thought it was a mood disorder of bipolar because of my trauma. Trauma responses can look like a mood disorder, but eventually it was discovered that I don't have a mental health disorder. I'm very traumatised. So after the second time that I tried to end my life, I was taken back and on a voluntary basis, where the psychiatrist there was just sort of trying to give me a bit of help, and again tried again with community law and that kind of thing. And they had a social worker there who was giving me some help, but she's just, it's not a job for a social worker. Like, no one, it's really, really hard for me to explain to people what's going on. Even to explain to a lawyer is difficult enough. To explain people without legal skills is just impossible. It's my rubbish bin. I don't know. So while I was in Hillmorton, I made a couple of friends, and it was really great to talk to people who were also traumatised and had been misdiagnosed with psychiatric problems, because trauma is not very well understood by the Ministry of Health model. Luckily, the senior psychiatrist I ended up seeing was a trauma expert, and he understands how it works, but you're very much trapped in it, and with chronic fatigue syndrome, trauma, stress. I also have ADHD, and almost certainly am on the autism spectrum, and this is all diagnosed. I can show you the letter from the psychiatrist. All in all, it just makes me, I'm just very isolated. I don't, I don't have any help, and I haven't had any I've just been in a nightmare for like 15 months. I can't keep going. I can't keep going by myself. And I do not want to die, but there's nowhere for me to be. If I lose my home, there's nowhere for me. I'm just so tired. And I put up a real strong fight. And if you see my correspondence with the landlord side, and it's a really big conglomeration of people who really are not entitled to be in my tenancy. There's a law firm with an ex-ACC litigator on my case who has authorised himself, and the tenancy tribunal seem to believe him that he's authorised. I'm going through fucking hell. And I'm still, like, my mood is okay. Like, as far as my temperament and my disposition, my mood is, like, I don't have a mood disorder. I'm a happy person, but you can just see I can't cope. And I've got no money, and my KiwiSaver provider won't give me any money for a lawyer. And I had quite a fight with the manager over it. I said it's not just for, it's not a, he was just oversimplifying it, like we don't release funds for, for legal costs, and it's like, but it's not just for a lawyer, it's to save my home. Like I can't afford to lose my home. But they just utterly refused, but it was just the day or two before my second suicide attempt. It was just so hopeless.
Um, I have an average credit rating, and I thought I would have a shot at maybe getting loan from like Harmoney or another, kind of like okay kind of lender, but I was declined from two, uh, so because I just don't eat enough, and so I did. There's my next thought was maybe trying to do something through like a little, but like I can't take on multiple projects. Like, I just have to keep trudging ahead until I can't. And I hit walls all the time. Um, so, like, if you want to see any evidence of my financials, of course, I'll send that through. I can send you medical letters, psychiatric records, yeah, um, yeah, anything you need to see, but I promise, like, I really need help, and I have tried everything. Absolutely everything. Like, ADL is my last hope, and I know ADL can't take me through the whole process. I know that they can't walk with me through this whole thing, and the thing is, like, that it's not just a matter of being in the right. When it comes to the tenancy tribunal, is up to whether the adjudicator understands enough about what's going on, and I don't think she does. The tenancy tribunal is not. It's not. As I keep saying to people, it's no longer appropriate to deal with the kinds of evil that property managers are bringing to the residential rental sector. They've got really cutthroat people who will just bulldoze over people. It's not, adjudicators, they seem like very no nonsense, but they actually are rather credulous, and they just don't seem to understand that there are very dishonest people who are very experienced manipulators and liars. And I've read parts of a report from it was a report about property management and recommendations for it to be regulated. It was the 2021 from it was like the Anglican something advocacy in conjunction with Renters United, and just just goes through all the horrible things that property managers do, the deceit, the manipulation. Like, they're just not honest, and the tenancy tribunal hasn't caught up with this yet. And I'm just being really, really badly bullied, and I haven't done anything wrong, and I have all the evidence. I have all the evidence you could possibly wish for. I'm kind of like an ideal client in that sense. Like, I've got so much evidence. I record everything meticulously, and I've really learnt to do that. But when it comes to organising it all, like, and also the thing is that I can't stop them. They need, like, I need restraining orders. I think some of this needs to be criminally prosecuted. Like, I need protection, and if no one can help me, like, I can't keep going. So, thank you for listening.